What if a war between the United States and Iran didn't start the way most people imagine? Not with massive invasions or giant tank battles, but with something far more complicated, something carefully designed over years. Because according to military analysts and strategic experts, Iran has spent decades quietly developing a war strategy specifically designed for one opponent, the United States. And the goal of this strategy isn't necessarily to defeat the United States in a traditional war. Instead, the goal may be something very different: to make any war so costly, so chaotic, and so unpredictable that even the most powerful military on Earth would have to think twice before starting it. This strategy reportedly combines missile forces, naval tactics, cyber warfare, regional alliances, and something known among analysts as decentralized warfare. In simple terms, it's a plan designed to keep fighting even if Iran's major military bases were destroyed in the first hours of a conflict. And that's exactly why this strategy has attracted so much attention from defense planners in Washington. Because if a major conflict between Iran and the United States ever happened, it would likely look very different from the wars America has fought in recent decades. Tonight, we're breaking down the strategy analysts believe Iran has prepared, the military doctrine behind it, the weapon systems involved, the regional dynamics that could expand the conflict, and the critical question many experts are asking right now: is this strategy designed to start a war or to prevent one? To understand why Iran developed such a strategy, you have to go back several decades. Relations between the United States and Iran have been tense since the Iranian Revolution, which dramatically changed Iran's political system and ended its close alliance with Washington. Since then, the two countries have experienced decades of political rivalry, economic sanctions, and regional competition across the Middle East. For Iran's leadership, one concern has remained constant: the enormous difference in military power between Iran and the United States. The United States maintains the most technologically advanced military in the world, with global naval fleets, advanced aircraft, and precision weapons capable of striking targets almost anywhere. Iran's military planners have long understood that a traditional conventional war against such a force would be extremely difficult. So instead of trying to match the United States weapon for weapon, Iran developed a different approach, a strategy focused on asymmetry. In military terms, asymmetric warfare means using unconventional tactics to challenge a stronger opponent. Instead of fighting the enemy's strengths directly, the strategy targets vulnerabilities. Over time, Iran began studying how major powers conduct wars. They analyzed conflicts in Iraq. They studied military campaigns in Afghanistan. They observed how modern wars rely heavily on logistics, technology, and regional alliances. And gradually, Iran began developing a doctrine designed not for quick victory, but for endurance. A doctrine designed to stretch a conflict across multiple domains, making it far more complicated than a single battlefield. One of the concepts frequently discussed by analysts studying Iran's military planning is something known as mosaic defense. This doctrine focuses on decentralization. Instead of relying on a small number of major command centers that could be destroyed in an airstrike, the military structure is divided into many smaller operational units. Each unit can operate independently if communication with central leadership is disrupted. Imagine a mosaic made up of hundreds of small pieces. Even if some pieces are removed, the overall picture still remains. That's the idea behind the strategy. If a conflict begins and major facilities are destroyed in the opening hours, regional commanders would still be able to continue operations. This makes the military structure more resilient during sustained conflict. From the perspective of defense planners, such a structure creates a difficult challenge. It means a single decisive strike may not disable the entire system. Instead, a conflict could evolve into a longer and more complex campaign involving multiple regions and different types of warfare. Another major element of Iran's military strategy involves missile forces and unmanned systems. Over the past 2 decades, Iran has invested heavily in ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drone technology. These systems are designed to extend Iran's reach across large distances. Missiles can target military bases, ports, or other strategic infrastructure. Drones can conduct reconnaissance, surveillance, and potentially strike missions. From a strategic perspective, these weapons offer an advantage. They are often less expensive than advanced aircraft, but can still pose serious challenges to defensive systems. In modern conflicts, analysts frequently discuss the concept of saturation attacks. This means launching a large number of projectiles simultaneously in order to overwhelm defensive systems. Even highly advanced missile defense networks have limits on how many targets they can intercept at once. By combining drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles, a coordinated strike could potentially create a complex defensive challenge. Military planners study these scenarios carefully because they demonstrate how smaller powers can create pressure points against technologically superior forces. Another dimension of Iran's strategic planning involves the broader Middle East. The region contains multiple political actors, alliances, and security concerns that could influence how a conflict unfolds. Rather than being limited to a single battlefield, a war could potentially expand across multiple areas. Military bases, shipping routes, and regional security partnerships could all become part of the strategic environment. From a planning perspective, conflicts that involve multiple geographic areas tend to become more complicated. They require larger logistical efforts, more coordination between allies, and more resources over time. This is why analysts often describe modern conflicts in terms of regional networks rather than isolated battlefields. If tensions ever escalated into a wider confrontation, the Middle East's strategic geography could play a significant role in shaping events. One location frequently mentioned in discussions about potential conflict scenarios is the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean and is one of the most important energy transit routes in the world. A large portion of global oil shipments passes through this corridor every day. Because of its importance to international energy markets, any disruption in this region would attract immediate global attention. Military analysts often discuss how naval forces could attempt to control or protect shipping routes in such an environment. Possible tactics could include patrol operations, defensive escort missions, and efforts to maintain safe navigation for commercial vessels. In strategic planning exercises, protecting global trade routes is often considered a critical objective for many nations. This makes the Strait of Hormuz one of the most frequently analyzed locations in discussions about regional security. Modern conflicts are no longer limited to land, sea, and air. Cyber warfare has become an increasingly important dimension of national security strategy. In the digital domain, attacks can target communication systems, financial networks, transportation infrastructure, or energy grids. Cyber operations are particularly difficult to detect and attribute compared to traditional military actions. They can occur quietly, often without immediate physical destruction, but still create significant disruption. Because modern economies depend heavily on digital networks, cybersecurity has become a major focus for governments around the world. In a hypothetical conflict scenario, cyber operations could be used to slow logistical operations, disrupt communications, or create economic uncertainty. That is why cyber defense has become an essential part of national security planning in many countries. Despite all the analysis and speculation about potential strategies, most experts emphasize an important point. A full-scale war between the United States and Iran remains unlikely. Both countries understand that such a conflict would involve enormous costs and risks. Military conflicts today rarely remain confined to a single location. They can expand across regions, impact global markets, and create long-term political consequences. Because of these risks, many governments focus on deterrence rather than direct confrontation. Deterrence means demonstrating enough capability to discourage an opponent from taking aggressive action. In that sense, military planning is often as much about preventing war as preparing for it. By developing strategies that raise the potential cost of conflict, countries attempt to maintain a balance where neither side sees war as the best option. Looking ahead, several possible paths remain open. One scenario involves continued tension, but no direct military conflict. Diplomatic negotiations, economic pressures, and regional politics would continue shaping the relationship between the United States and Iran. Another scenario could involve limited incidents or localized confrontations that are quickly contained through diplomacy. History shows that international crises sometimes occur without escalating into full scale war. The most serious scenario, though still considered unlikely, would involve a larger military confrontation involving multiple countries and strategic locations. Such a situation would likely attract global attention and require international efforts to stabilize the region. Because of the potential consequences, governments around the world continue monitoring developments carefully. So, what is Iran's secret military plan against the United States? The answer may be simpler than many headlines suggest. It is a strategy designed to survive. A strategy built on decentralization, resilience, and the ability to operate across multiple domains of warfare. Not necessarily a plan to defeat a superpower outright, but a plan designed to make any conflict extremely complicated and costly. And sometimes, in geopolitics, the most powerful strategies are not the ones that start wars. They are the ones designed to make sure wars never happen at all. If you want more deep breakdowns of global conflicts, military strategies, and the forces shaping world politics, make sure to subscribe. Because the world is changing fast. And understanding these strategies might be more important than ever.